Everyone assumes legends fade out slowly, that they take a final bow, wave to the crowd, and quietly disappear into history. But Bob Weir didn't leave that way. His story didn't end with silence. It ended with guitars humming, crowds leaning in, and a final stretch of music that felt heavier than anyone realized at the time. Because when Bob Weir stepped on stage near the end, he wasn't just playing songs. He was closing a chapter that reshaped live music forever. And behind the smiles and familiar chords, there was a lot more happening than fans understood. Long before the sold-out arenas and endless tours, Bob Weir was just a restless kid who never quite fit where he was supposed to. He was adopted at a young age, bounced between schools, and struggled with structure. Music wasn't just an interest for him. It was a way out, a way to build something when nothing else seemed to stick. And then came a moment that sounds almost unreal now. A chance meeting with another teenager who shared that same hunger for sound, Jerry Garcia. At the time, neither of them had any idea they were about to stumble into a cultural earthquake. They played small gigs, tried different sounds, failed more times than they succeeded, and nearly disappeared before anyone noticed. The band didn't explode overnight. In fact, it barely survived its early years at all. But something about the chemistry refused to let it die. Once the Grateful Dead found their footing, the rules of music started bending. This wasn't just a band anymore. It was a moving ecosystem. Fans didn't just attend shows, they followed them. They built communities around them. Concerts turned into experiences that couldn't be repeated the same way twice. And Bob Weir's role in all of this often went underappreciated. He wasn't the flashiest, he wasn't the loudest voice in the room, but his rhythm guitar became the glue that held the chaos together. While others soared, he anchored. While the band stretched songs into the unknown, he made sure they never fully unraveled. Behind the scenes, though, the pressure was enormous. Endless touring, endless expectations, and a lifestyle that never slowed down. As the years rolled on, the image of freedom and unity masked a much messier reality. The road took its toll, relationships strained, burnout crept in quietly. At one point, Bob Weir was even pushed out of the band he helped create, a moment that shocked fans and nearly broke him. But instead of walking away, he came back sharper, more disciplined, more determined to hold things together. That moment changed him. It forced him to grow up inside a world that rarely allowed it, and it foreshadowed something darker, because the cracks everyone ignored were only getting deeper. Then came the loss that changed everything. Jerry Garcia was gone. For fans, it felt like the heart of the Grateful Dead had stopped beating. Many assumed that was the end of the story, that the music would freeze in time, preserved in bootlegs and memories. But Bob Weir didn't see it that way. He refused to let the music become a museum piece. Instead, he kept moving forward. New bands, new collaborations, new audiences. Some longtime fans weren't thrilled. Purists complained. Online debates flared. But quietly, a new generation started showing up. People who weren't even born during the Dead's peak were suddenly singing along. And Bob welcomed them, because for him, the music was never about the past. It was about continuity. As time caught up, Bob Weir began aging in public. Every tour made it more visible. Fans noticed the changes, the slower steps, the careful movements. Online whispers grew louder. Was he pushing too hard? Was it time to stop? Reports surfaced about health struggles, though details were kept private. And through it all, he stayed on stage, not out of obligation, but because stepping away felt like giving up a part of himself. Music wasn't his job, it was his identity. And that made what came next even more powerful. One performance in particular now feels different in hindsight. At the time, it was just another night, another crowd, another familiar song. But when Bob Weir played Touch of Grey near the end, something shifted. The lyrics hit harder, the delivery felt heavier. Fans who were there say the room felt unusually quiet, like everyone sensed the weight of the moment without understanding why. It didn't feel like a goodbye, it felt like unfinished business, like someone squeezing every last drop out of a lifetime on stage. And when the lights went down, no one knew it would be remembered this way. Not long after the news broke, Bob Weir had passed away peacefully, surrounded by loved ones. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Tributes poured in from musicians, fans, and people far outside the rock world. Social media filled with stories, first concerts, life-changing road trips, songs that carried people through the hardest moments of their lives. And that's when it became clear. Bob Weir wasn't just a guitarist, he was part of people's personal timelines. His music wasn't something they listened to, it was something they lived alongside. What he left behind goes far beyond records or awards. The modern touring model, the idea that live music could be fluid, communal, and unpredictable, the belief that a band could evolve endlessly without losing its soul, that all traces back to the foundation he helped build. Even today, artists borrow from that blueprint whether they realize it or not. And that's the quiet power of his legacy. It doesn't scream for attention, it just keeps showing up. Bob Weir never believed in endings. He believed in movement, in letting things change shape instead of freezing them in time. And maybe that's why his story feels incomplete in the best way possible. Because even now, the music keeps traveling, the songs keep finding new ears, and the spirit of what he helped create refuses to fade. So the next time you hear one of those familiar chords, remember, this wasn't just a band, it was a living idea. And Bob Weir was one of the architects who made sure it never stopped moving. If this story made you look at music differently, you already know what to do.